Now, with the release of this new Jackass movie, Jackass Forever, I think it's the perfect opportunity for me to talk about this stuff. I love the new movie, and I love Jackass. Surprise, if you're new here, just know that I don't just talk about video games. I like to talk about whatever I like, and sometimes I like to tank the algorithm. So let's talk about weird old MTV television shows. The new movie is great. I'm going to talk about it at length in a little bit, and then I'm not going to spoil anything, but just Jackass for me hit at the right time, and I'm sure for a lot of you guys as well. It was a lot of things. It was that late 90s, early 2000s, like music culture, skate culture, edgy culture, coming off of the Tom Green stuff even, and all that stuff. It really was like a perfect storm in a lot of ways. And it had such humble beginnings, from the makings of with how Johnny Knoxville was doing things and how Bam Margera was doing things. It just came together to form this perfect, weird, crude television show that I was obsessed with, every kid I knew was obsessed with, but adults as well. It was just like this big thing. If you're not familiar, for some reason, the concept really is just kind of guerrilla filmmaking, messing around with your friends, hurting each other, doing pranks on one another, or doing pranks in public. The pranks in public usually, are not very mean-spirited or anything like that, but some of the pranks between the friends can get pretty intense. That really kind of escalated with the movies. Now, the movies, I think, are perfect. It's a natural progression or escalation of the concept from the television shows, but I think in a really fascinating way. And I think people should really hold it to a high standard because the TV show had such humble beginnings, and then with the movies comes money, advertising, just millions of dollars for different projects, concepts, more people working on these projects, and it still doesn't lose the heart of what it is. And I think that's incredible, and I think that translates over to the newest movie, Jackass Forever, which, in a lot of ways feels different a little bit. They're doing it in nicer parts of Los Angeles. They have like an obnoxious amount of money to pull off all of these things. You clearly see lots of safety crews and people everywhere. It's a far cry from the old days where they would do stuff in the seedier parts of LA, or they would do stuff in the woods on the East Coast, or in a snowy parking lot. Like it definitely feels different, but that actual feeling, the warmth behind it, as cheesy as that may sound, is still totally there. And that's why I love it. That's why I love the whole thing. Like, I truly feel like, especially with the name of the movie, Jackass Forever, I do feel like Jackass will be forever. I also think that Jackass as a whole has healing properties. I really think it can heal a divided world. There's something about just laughing at somebody getting punched in the nuts or poop or whatever, that is just perfect. Like, I love this stuff. And of course, all of it is done so well thanks to all the people involved, either the people behind the scenes and producing, like Spike Jonze and Jeff Tremaine and those guys, but just the people in it, front and center, the personalities, if you will, which they're not really personalities, they're kind of just crazy people. Of course, the highlight, Johnny Knoxville, of course, like he's the favorite. He's the entertainer. He is the literal carnival barker, and it has always shown, and he's really been able to shine in the movies with the framework of the movies. And he's clearly somebody that has a reverence for old movies, old style stuff, and good comedy. One of my favorite things about Johnny Knoxville, and he gets one here in Jackass Forever, and I won't tell you what it is, but he gets those perfect lines when he does, because he always ends up being the one that goes the hardest, does the craziest thing. And after said thing, he always has the most perfect comedic line that is incredible. One of my favorites is when he faces off against Butterbean in the store and gets knocked out by a heavyweight championship boxer. And then in the midst of him having a concussion and the paramedics tending to him, he looks up and asks, "Is Butterbean okay?" It's just incredible talent. I don't know. There's nothing more to it other than someone is getting concussed and yet still has the power to like whip smart, nail that line. And that's that other part of Jackass that sells things so well. The theatricality to it, because again, it is guys in shopping carts ramming into each other in a parking lot. The other aspect is just this over-the-top comedy. It's all sight comedy. It's all visual gags. There's like basically no subtlety to any of it other than just any underlying subversive stuff you maybe want to read into with some of the setups. But for me, it's just all dumb fun. And I think the movies in particular, and this one, Jackass Forever, the intros and the outros where they spend the most money and do the most crazy over-the-top things are just perfect. But bottom line with Jackass Forever, it's the most fun I've had at the movie theater in a long time. I haven't laughed that hard in a movie theater in a long time. Spider-Man No Way Home or insert Marvel movie has those jokes, but nothing like seeing a man do things with his balls or friends just do terrible things to each other. Like, it really is such a good feeling. I think the other part or the appeal of Jackass from the beginning is that, like what I said, they're not actors, they're not these crazy over the top people. They're just crazy people, but they're not putting on a show. And I think part of why people get so attached to these types of things, myself included, is really the fact that, like, in those moments, in these crazy moments where a man's about to get killed by a bull, or a dude is about to take like 1,000,000 rounds of a paintball gun or jump off of a bridge or whatever, in these stunts, that's when people are most vulnerable, when they're like in danger or doing something crazy or goofy or trying to do something wacky to impress their other friends. Like, that's when people are the most people, and you can't really fake a lot of that. And I think that's what really works here. It always has. I think that's why it took off from the beginning. Plus with the Jackass stuff, like just the way it's made, the way it feels, from like the soundtrack choices. This one, we got another Misfits song that was really great. Just like all the soundtrack choices, the way they're put together, it does have its own style that's really cool. I love every single cast member or person, even the behind the scenes people that you get to see. I love all of them, and it's so like good and nostalgic to see them back again here. But not nostalgic. I don't think nostalgic is really the word. I'll get to that in a little bit, but all the people here, like, I really like Johnny Knoxville. I really like Steve-O. I really like Chris Pontius because Wild Boys was great. But they're all great in their own ways, and they still all get their moments. And what I think was great about this one is that Preston Lacey is a hero. This man, I think they finally gave him the spotlight. They finally really let him shine and do some of the buck wild shit. With Preston Lacey, oftentimes with him, it's very much just, he's the bigger guy. Let him take his shirt off. But here, he really got to do some gangster shit. And I don't know why, I was just so happy to see that. You know, like, just to see everybody really get their chances to shine was great. And the new people, they introduced some new people, and the new, younger group is pretty wild. They weren't in it a ton, but they got some good moments, and it didn't feel forced, which was what I was worried about, right? Like, it didn't really necessarily, to me, need to feel like this, like, oh, they're passing the torch to the younger generation. Why am I talking like Johnny Knoxville's like old man character? Like, it didn't feel like that. It didn't feel forced. It didn't feel like this like contrived thing, like, oh, hey, we're the old guys, you're the new guys. It was just like they brought some new people in, and they worked. And that was it. They didn't make a big deal out of anything. The new people were great, but then there's, you know, there's the elephant in the room. Ryan Dunn, who was one of the best members, passed away. He's not in this movie, and that's a bummer. The other thing is the Bam Margera thing. There's a big, whole drawn-out thing with Bam Margera publicly and calling them out, and litigation, and him facing personal issues. People have really weird takes on stuff like this. I just look at that, and I think, like, if you've ever had somebody in your life with struggles or addiction or really any like conflict at all, you could kind of understand where things have been going, and it's a shame. I gotta say, what I would like to see in the future is obviously a triumphant comeback of Bam. They could make another movie, and he's in it, and he's celebrated, and it's great. He's not the first Jackass crew member to face adversity and go through tough things and come back strong enough to get slapped in the face by a giant, you know, or like any crazy thing. And I think it could happen, and I would love to see it because his presence is missed here. I don't think it ruins the movie. You know, people come and go in these types of things, and some players are shown more in one movie or one episode of the show and vice versa. So it is what it is, but yeah. And circling back, I do think some of the stunts in this one, they really top themselves. I think they top themselves in a lot of ways, not just in terms of like budget or doing something crazy over the top, because frankly, I think they had some really over the top bombastic things in the previous movies. I think this one, they really top themselves in terms of the skits or stunts or whatever, when it's just a handful of them in a room doing stuff to each other, as ridiculous as that sounds. I think here, it was some of the best. It is gross, it is profane, it is disgusting, and it is perfect. And again, I think it can be like this universal healing thing, because it is just for everyone, really, as long as you're not grossed out. And another thing that I thought was really special, and I didn't feel like it was something I wanted until necessarily the movie wrapped up, and I was like, oh, hell yeah. The fact that it just ended, and it was like, that's it. It was like they just made another one. There's no big thing, like I said before, like this, like, oh, new generation, like this whole big thing, or like, oh, this is our last one. Nope. It was just like, hey, we made another one. And I was hoping it would feel like that. Nothing else really in it other than what we want, the crazy bullshit. It had a lot of surprises. It had a lot of gross stuff. It had a lot of penis. But I think it was just another perfect Jackass movie. I don't think these guys miss. And I think in a time now where so many things have missed, or so many things have gone too big, or so many things have disappointed, the fact that Jackass has remained consistent now for 20 years, it's just a good feeling. I highly recommend seeing these movies. I recommend just seeing them all, and then if you really like them and you want to go even deeper, go check out the old MTV shows. They are much rougher, but still definitely worth experiencing. But these movies, I think, are peak dumb BS comedy. I am literally grateful and thankful for them. I rewatched them probably more than I should admit, but no, I should put that out there. You guys know my influences and stuff like that. Yeah, Jackass Forever is sick. It's awesome. The new people are great. It's no BS. Some of the moments, there's so many surprises, so many great moments. The celebrity stuff that pops up that they always inevitably have don't feel forced at all, except for maybe Machine Gun Kelly, but it was cool that they dunked him in a pool. Anyway, it's awesome. I love these movies, and with Jackass Forever, I hope this means that they make these forever, because I love them and they make me very happy. That's it. That's all I wanted to do here. I talk about stuff I like and stuff I love, and I love Jackass. So thank you for joining me on this ramble. It's a little bit more difficult to talk out something like this. I've never dived into something like this, but here we are. Thanks for letting me try. Thanks for watching. I'm Jake. Let's talk about this stuff, man. What's your favorite Jackass movie? If you've seen all of them now, all 4 of them, which is your favorite? Which one do you put on that pedestal? And what's your favorite moment? Really, what's your favorite Johnny Knoxville one-liner? Because there are quite a handful of really good ones. He fell for the soup. So good. Let's talk about Jackass, for real. Down in the comments. I'm looking forward to hearing from you guys. This is something in the comment section I never thought we would go back and forth about, but it's tight. So thank you for being here. I'm Jake. You can subscribe because video games. Pizza's on me.